Real estate, right. I mean, it's exciting. It's a huge decision, but wow, can it ever get complicated?
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like it's so easy to just get lost in the weeds with all the paperwork, the terminology, trying to figure out where to even begin.
You've got listings everywhere, you've got agents all saying different things.
Right,
It's a
exactly.
lot to process.
So that's kind of what we're hoping to untangle a bit today in our deep dive. We're going to be looking at this platform, Propsur. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, I have. Propster is really interesting. It's been generating a lot of buzz.
Well, and they're making some pretty bold claims right out of the gate.
Oh, definitely. I mean, when they describe themselves, they use words like revolutionize.
Next generation.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
big promises.
Big promises.
So we really wanted to take a closer look, and we're going to be pulling directly from Propsur's own descriptions of their platform. No marketing fluff, just the nuts and bolts of what they're actually saying they can do.
Absolutely. I think that's key because there's a lot of noise out there in the real estate tech world.
Right, and one of the first things that really jumped out at me was how Propster is positioning itself. They're not just calling themselves another listing site. They're saying they're a real estate social network.
Now, that's a phrase that definitely makes you stop and think, doesn't it? Because right away, you're like, okay, how is that different? What does that even mean?
Right. Are we talking about like posting selfies with your new house keys? Like, what's the social element here?
It's a good question. I think the idea, at least from what I'm gathering, is to leverage the power of actual human connections. Think about it.
Hmm?
People trust recommendations from people they know.
Right. Word of mouth is huge.
Exactly. So if you can see what properties your friends are liking, what agents your colleagues have had good experiences with,
That's a different level of trust than just browsing through faceless listings.
it is. And imagine being able to ask questions, not just to the listing agent, but to other buyers who've been through the process.
That's a wealth of information you just don't get on traditional platforms.
It is. It's almost like bringing that community aspect back into real estate, which I think a lot of people feel has been lost in this very digital, transactional world.
Yeah. And for our listeners who are already pretty savvy about real estate, this is especially relevant because you're not just starting from scratch. You've got knowledge, you've got questions. This kind of platform could really amplify that.
Absolutely. And it seems like Propser is really leaning into that personalization aspect. They talk about tailoring the experience to your specific needs and preferences.
Yeah, they use phrases like intuitive platform, personalized recommendations. Now, we hear that kind of language a lot with tech platforms, right? But what does it actually mean for someone looking to buy or sell a home?
Well, think about the platforms you already use and love, like how Netflix learns what kind of movies you like, or Spotify suggests music based on your listening habits.
Right, so they're saying they can do that for houses.
That's the goal. Imagine logging in and seeing properties that actually fit your lifestyle, your budget, your aesthetic preferences, not just a generic list of everything in your price range.
Yeah, that would be a huge time saver. No more sifting through listings that are totally off base.
Exactly. And from what I've read, Propster is going even deeper. They're talking about using AI to provide insights.
That's where it starts to get really interesting, right? Because AI is this big buzzword, but what's it actually doing in the context of real estate?
So, from what Propster describes, their AI isn't just matching you with properties based on, the number of bedrooms or square footage. It's analyzing your past searches, the properties you've clicked on, even things like the types of neighborhoods you tend to gravitate towards.
So it's learning what you like, even if you can't quite articulate it yourself.
Exactly. The idea is to surface those hidden gems, the properties that you might not even know you're looking for. And that could be really powerful.
I mean, it's like having a super smart, data-driven friend helping you house hunt.
It is. And that ties back to the personalization aspect. It's about creating a truly unique experience for every buyer.
Okay, so that's all well and good for buyers. But what about agents? How does Propser claim to benefit them?
That's a really good question because the agent's role in all of this is super important. And it seems like Propster is trying to redefine that role in a way.
Yeah, they use this phrase, trusted advisor, which definitely sounds like a shift from the more transactional agent-client relationships we often see.
Right. Because traditionally it's been a lot about listings and commissions.
Yes, who can get you the best deal, the fastest sale?
Exactly. But Propster seems to be saying, look, agents have a lot more to offer than that. They can be sources of knowledge, guides through the process, advocates for their clients.
And how does the platform actually facilitate that?
Well, they talk about giving agents tools to showcase their expertise, to answer questions, to engage in meaningful conversations with potential clients.
So it's less about the hard sell and more about building trust and rapport.
Exactly. And I think that's where the social element comes back in. Because if you're an agent who's responsive, helpful, knowledgeable, that's going to be reflected in your interactions on the platform.
And people are going to see that. They're going to be drawn to that.
It's like building a reputation, not just through listings, but through genuine engagement and expertise.
Okay, so we've got AI, we've got social networking, we've got this vision of agents as trusted advisors. Is this all starting to sound a little too good to be true?
Well, there's always a healthy dose of skepticism needed with any new platform that's making these kinds of claims.
Right, especially in the tech world where hype can sometimes outpace reality.
Absolutely. But I think it's also important to recognize that Propster is tapping into some very real trends that are shaping not just real estate, but how we interact with technology in general. People crave personalized experiences, they value social connections.
And we all know that AI is becoming increasingly sophisticated.
So the question isn't so much whether Propster can deliver on all its promises, but how these trends are going to reshape the real estate landscape regardless.
Right, and for our listeners who are always looking to stay ahead of the curve, this is crucial information. So, what does all this mean for the average buyer or seller? How do we navigate this changing world of real estate?
Well, I think the key takeaway is that things are shifting. We're moving away from that traditional model of just browsing listings and hoping for the best. If platforms like Propster gain traction, buyers are going to need to become more tech savvy, more discerning, more proactive in seeking out the information they need.
They can't just passively wait for an agent to guide them through everything.
Right. And on the flip side, agents need to adapt as well. They need to embrace technology, showcase their expertise, build genuine relationships, and offer a level of personalized service that really sets them apart.
So it's almost like both sides need to step up their game in a way.
They do, because the stakes are getting higher, and the competition is going to be fierce.
So this is not just about finding the right house anymore. It's about mastering this whole new landscape.
Exactly. And here's a final thought to ponder. If this trend towards social, personalized, AI-driven real estate continues, what skills will be most valuable? Is it about mastering the algorithms, building a strong online presence, or is it about cultivating that human connection in a world that's becoming increasingly digital?
That's such a great point. It's almost like a paradox, right? Technology is changing everything, but it
Uh-huh.
might also be highlighting the importance of those very human skills that can't be replicated by an algorithm.
Absolutely. Food for thought.
Lots to think about. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Propster. It's been fascinating, and I think it's safe to say that the future of real estate is anything but predictable.
I agree.
Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. It was great.